Hello there, this is James, and you're watching OneRoyal, and it's live. In today's program, I want to talk about yesterday's CPI reading and today's PPI reading and the potential dangers that we may face another inflation crisis. As well as that, Trump makes a phone call and he's going to threaten more tariffs later today. But before we get into all of that, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever shall it be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out the way, let's get going. Let's get started even. Let's get going. Right. So, yes, I have my little headline here. You can't make a recession without cracking eggs. And there's a reason why I'm using the word eggs, because I'm beginning to ask a couple of questions, and it's not just me. The market is beginning to get a little nervous about potential inflation danger. Now, I remember back in 2022, I was doing another live show back then. And one of the main stories, one of the main drivers of the market back then was indeed inflation. Okay, it was indeed inflation. I mean, we had double digits in the UK, for example. I think in the United States, you got as high as, my memory serves me correctly, 9.4, so close to double digits. And it was really, really bad. But since then, obviously, central banks have managed to get it under control. However, there is a little bit of worrying sign, bit by bit, inflation is climbing back up again. Because like I say, yesterday, US CPI year on year was announced at 3% versus 2.9% expected. Okay. And don't forget the Fed's target is 2%. US CPI month on month was announced at 0.5% versus 0.3% expected. So it was a very hot reading indeed. And now here's the other thing. If you delve a bit deeper into this, household groceries for like January was up by 0.3%. Okay, that doesn't sound a lot, but if you just look at one food item on its own, okay, just one food item, eggs, part of a stable diet. We all have it, England, obviously, we have fried eggs or scrambled eggs with our all English breakfast, but, cakes and everything. Like eggs is part of the, our general diet. Now, the cost of a dozen eggs up from a month ago is gone up in price by 15.2% in 1 month. Year on year, the cost of a dozen eggs is up by 53%. I know I'm only talking about eggs, but I'm giving you an example of some of the concerns the market is beginning to get a little bit worried about. By the way, these numbers have come from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, by the way. So the year-on-year cost of a dozen eggs is up by 53%. So overall, there is now beginning just a bit, a fear is developing that we might, start having an inflation problem again, or a big inflation problem. In fact, Powell, when he was finishing his testimony yesterday, he said on the back of that hot CPI reading, we're not quite there yet. So we want to keep policy restricted for now. In other words, he's not looking to rush to decrease interest rates. because he is concerned about inflation. So remember, don't forget, they've committed to, for the time being, to keep interest rates at 4.25 to 4.5. So he's in no rush to do it. And you can sort of understand a little bit why, okay? Because if you look at the last couple of readings, September inflation was at 2.5, October 2.4, November 2.6, December 2.7, and January 2.9, and the last reading was 3%. So, there is a little bit of a slowly slowly going up, on inflation on that. So then obviously, of course, this whole reading yesterday has really put dampers on people who was hoping for the Fed to do a rate cut in June. Okay. Maybe we might not see it till far later in the year. And don't forget, the likes of Trump and a lot of people, they want, especially with tariffs on the way, and we're going to talk about that again in a minute, they want interest rate cuts. And here's the other thing. Not that I think this is a bit outrageous, but I read it today anyway, and I will share it with you. One analyst, because of the inflation, he even thinks there's a 25% chance of a Fed rate hike. So there's the majority of the market, hoping and praying and waiting for him to do a rate cut. Now, obviously, this inflation is slowly rising. They're thinking, okay, there's going to hold rate steady. If there's one chap who even thinks there's a chance, well, a very small chance, 25% doesn't sound that small to me, but 25% chance of the Fed raising rates, sorry. And here's the other thing as well, keeping with inflation. We had the producer price index today. Okay, this is obviously where, where producers, the change in the cost for buying goods from producers. It was announced year on year, again, higher, 3.5% versus 3.3% expected. Month on month, PPI came in 0.4% versus 0.5% expected. Again, slightly higher. Actually, that's the other way around, 0.5 versus 0.4. And here's the thing, we've got these inflation worries at the moment. Slowly, I'm not saying it's, 3%, we're a percentage away from their 2% Fed target. Because don't forget, most central banks, their target for inflation is 2%, get it down to 2%. So we're not millions of miles away from it, but it's still above their target. And here's the other thing. Tariffs haven't really kicked in yet. They haven't started. We're not feeling it yet. So, that's the thing. Anyway, talking about tariffs. Trump has promised to announce today further tariffs on many countries. And the press conference for this, he's also meeting the Indian Prime Minister, Modi, today as well. Press conference is due at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. At the moment, to be totally open with you, even though that sounds like a big headline, 1 p.m. press conference about what additional tariffs Trump's going to do. For now, though, the market, and we'll look at the market in a minute, doesn't really seem to be that bothered at the moment. I think maybe not they're thinking their mood has changed. They're thinking that the tariff threats are, purely what happened with Canada and Mexico. Don't forget, a couple of weeks ago, he said he's going to do tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and then he gave them a month reprieve. So maybe, just maybe, the market is beginning to get a little bit like, okay, it's a negotiation tactic. So maybe they're beginning to not worry about it so much. But anyway, like I said, we'll have a look at the market at the moment. But anyway, like I said, that's happening later today, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Trump will announce more tariffs on more countries. Anywho, Trump's been a busy boy as well because he made a phone call. Yes, indeed, he made a phone call to Putin. And apparently they've agreed to start to negotiate an end to the Ukraine-Russian war. Now, obviously, Europe and the UK and said we got to be a part of these negotiations. But anyway, apparently they're going to meet in Saudi Arabia, and they're going to try and negotiate some sort of peace deal. Now, this actually has. This is probably why the market is not really ignoring those tariff threats. This has given the market a little bit of relief. The euro dollar in particular, which we'll look at the moment. Okay, as well. Now, because obviously the euro has been struggling a fair bit, and we'll look at it again in a minute, but obviously this whole war has had a very negative impact on Europe, especially when you consider the natural gas issue we had. So anyways, giving it a slight little bit of hope. And in fact, actually, let's have a quick, and we'll have one more story actually on this bit before we go to my charts. So it has given the euro a little bit of hope. The other thing it has had an impact on is oil. Oil has also come under pressure due to these potential peace talks, because if they can find peace talks or get it sorted, then of course the supply of oil will increase. But anyway, let's have a quick look at the euro and a quick look at oil, and then I've got one more story I want to share with you today as well. So give me a second, let me get my chart up. There we go. So first, I want to look a quick look at the euro dollar, okay? Because as I say that, this is only a 30-minute chart. We know it is having a bit of a relief rally on the back of that. Because like I said, this is the European Union has been greatly affected by this war. It's currently trading at 1.04316. And in fact, if we look at it on a daily, okay, it's not just the reason. The euro's having, looks like it could close the fourth day or the fourth trading session with gains. So that's obviously had a positive impact. If we're going to have a quick look at oil as well, okay, as you can see, oil's come under a little bit of pressure today with that hope that they could find, they could come up with a peace deal. If you look at it on 30 minutes on the session so far, I can see it has come under pressure. It's bouncing a little bit at the moment, but in general, it is fallen down today because of, the hope that there could be peace between Ukraine and Russia. Another story I want to talk about, okay, which is quite interesting, or I find it quite interesting, is, I've talked a lot about the Mag 7 or Magnificent 7, and they haven't been having a good time of it so far this year. One of them has, though. One of them has, and that is Meta. Okay, Meta is really the darling of the Mag 7. The rest have had a bad start to the year, but Meta seems to be having a really good start to 2025. In fact, it may look like it might close again, have another 18-day gain, because it's been gaining over the last 18 days. Now, the reason for this, obviously, is their expansion in their technology, their AI technology. But I think the way they are investing money into the project is obviously making a bit of a difference. But let's have a quick look at this. Look at Meta and we'll look at some other currencies as well, and other currencies, other assets as well. So let's have a quick look at Meta first. Here we go. Okay. So as you can see, again, it's the 30-minute. If I put it on a daily, you can see a little bit better. I mean, look, that's been a nice steady growth for Meta. And like I say, for the month on month, after the year to date is actually up round about year to date 22, just under 23% up from the beginning of January. Okay, that's quite different. If you look at all the rest of the Mag 7, Tesla, for example, they're down for the year so far 9.41%. Microsoft, remember the disappointing earnings, they're down negative 4.23%. Amazon, okay, they're up a little bit, only but up by 3.24%. Alphabet, down so far year to date, 2.82%. And Nvidia, who got really spooked, let's face it, by, DeepSeek, is negative 0.85%. So one more of the Mag 7, Apple, again, negative for the year so far, down negative 4.86%. So the darling of the show currently at the moment is indeed Meta. I want a quick look at the cable as well, because the cable is looking quite interesting. It's had a reasonable day today. UK GDP actually came in at a plus 0.1%. Expectation was for it to come in negative 0.1%, but it's done a lot better than that, and it seemed to have bounced up. It's currently trading at 125.098. Of course, obviously, again, it's been helped by a weaker dollar because of the hope that we might have a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. And finally, it wouldn't be my show if we didn't look at gold. Okay, gold was trading below 2,900 yesterday. The weaker dollar has made it spur on again and go up again a little bit. It's now currently trading at $2,918.30. So, yeah, that's where the market. So I really think, the main thing with the market at the moment, okay, obviously there's a bit of optimism because of this phone call. I can imagine how that phone call went. And, though the inflation concerns are there, I don't think it's not quite yet realized. So I think it's something which might happen in the future. And clearly, I think, even though we have this Trump press conference at 1 p.m., I think the market, I feel like now looking at it going, this is just a bargaining chip. Okay. But anyway, we'll have to see what happens at 1 p.m. Eastern time and see what Trump has to say on what country is getting tariffs now. Anyway, don't forget, this is indeed a live show. So you can chat to me anytime at all. Come on, share with me your opinions. Ask me questions if you want. I mean, if you're not watching this show live, by all means, put in a comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me your opinion. Where's gold going to go? Are we going to have peace between Ukraine and Russia? What does that mean to the euro? How well is Meta doing? Do you think Meta's going to go even further? By all means, share me your opinions. It'd be great to know, because like I say, we're trying to build a little community here. Anyway, if you like this type of content, by all means, subscribe if you like. Give us one of these so I know you like what we do. Hit the notification button so you know next time we're going live. Like I say, we go live at least once a day. But remember, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own due diligence, and of course, there are risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time. Oops, pressed the wrong button. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.